Hi everybody, so today we're going to be talking about extruding images in Blender, or basically how to do that. So the first thing you're going to do is start off with just a standard scene, if you will. This time we are actually going to sacrifice the default cube, so sorry default cube. The next thing we're going to do is just bring in a simple image. This whole method typically relies on you having, it works best really if you have like a really simplistic image that's like a few colors and so forth, and you'll see what I mean here. So I actually went ahead and I took the little annotate icon here, um, and yeah. And so we're going to use that actually as the thing that we're going to trace, which seems pretty basic or pointless for that matter. And so here you go. So we have that icon. We can bring this over. You can literally drag and drop a PNG, JPEG, so on and so forth into the Blender viewport. I suggest you do it into one of the orthographic modes, so top, left, or front, what have you. Once you do that though, you're going to just have this selected. As you can see, it's just an empty image. You're going to have that selected, hit W on the keyboard, and then when you hit that, you're going to go to Trace Image to Grease Pencil. It's going to give you an option right here to basically create a new object, color, threshold, minority, single, so on and so forth. Leave it just as it is real quick and just hit OK, unless you know what settings that you need. If you just hit OK, you can see that immediately we have a trace. But in the bottom left-hand corner of the Blender's viewport, you can actually see where it says trace image to grease pencil, from which then you can actually adjust this in real time to actually adjust the threshold for how much of that detail that you actually want to get. In this case, something here that still has that stroke is perfectly fine to me. Once you're done doing that, you're going to make sure that you actually have the grease pencil selected, and you can do that up here in the outliner, and you're going to hit go over to object, and you're going to go down to convert, and then you convert this to a mesh. And then once we actually get this to a mesh, I'm going to tab into edit mode real quick. And if we rotate around our object here, I'm just going to hit C on the keyboard to circle select some of these random outlining vertices. Here, I'm just going to X to delete those vertices. So those are all gone now. I'll tab out of edit mode real quick. I'll go back to the top view, hitting 7, and we'll just go ahead and just hide that image that we had here. But I'll do that, and then once I'm done doing that, then I'll actually go back to Object, go to Convert, go to Curve, and then if we look on the right-hand side in the whole Properties panel here over here, you can see over here we have data, and this is for curves, or in this case it says grease pencil, but that's just what it was. We can just rename this whatever we want it to be. In this case we'll just put drawing. Anyway, and then you're going to want to change the shape from 3D to 2D. And then you're going to come down here to where it says fill mode, change that to both. Now, everything for such a simplistic image like this should work out just fine. As you can see, it's a solid plane like thing. It's flat. But if it doesn't, you might want to play around with the fill solver. By default, it's sweep line. But also there's Delaunay, if you will. That actually might help clear up some other types of, more complex images or geometry. Once you have that, though, you're going to come down to geometry down here, speaking of which, but down to geometry, you'll see offset, extrude. We're just going to actually go ahead and scroll up on the extrude real quick. If it takes a second, that's perfectly fine. There's probably just a lot of data in here, and that's a-okay. And then there you go. Now you have an extruded image. Obviously, you could do a bunch of things with this. You can keep it as just a curve, or of course, you can just go back to object, go down to convert, back over to a mesh, and then you have a converted mesh. Obviously, this is quite messy and extremely tessellated, if you will. There's ways to fix this and whatnot, but that's for another lesson for another day. Either way, that's the basics on how to convert an image to an extruded mesh in Blender.